Disruption is not new. But what are the best ways in which you can maximize disruptions? When we say disruptions, sudden change in market demand, market operational dynamics that changes your market share or your share of wallet. You understand? Now, disruption is very expensive if you're on the receiving end. Most of the time, you might not know the value of your talent pool until a disruption happens. Something happens that necessarily have to what? Some kinds of disruptions have sharper and higher penetrating impact that the traditional way of innovation is not what took place. It's just like a tsunami. But you know what? Disruption is an advantage because it helps you to evaluate exactly how you're doing, what exactly you're doing, and how well you're doing what you're doing. That's the sincere truth. But then, what is most important about disruption, or you never know the wealth of your business power until there's a disruption, right? You wouldn't know how much you worth in the market until when disruption happens. That's when you begin to know because the time it takes for you to respond is what determines how elastic you are in that particular market space. So the simple way in which you can manage disruption is basically to learn what you were not doing, what your omissions were, and what you need to fix. That's simple. I'm doing something.
That's BTV.
Yes. It is during disruptions that most managers understand that it's not all employees that are hand in glove that you can just cheaply replace, right? And a lot of leaders don't understand their omission. They don't see the what of their omissions until there is a disruption. So, and there are 5 levels in which disruption can happen. It may come in terms of service value. Somebody just brings up a service orientation that is smarter and superior to what you are offering. Number 2 is productivity. You find out that people get results faster than they were getting it the way you have been doing it, right? Just like when you're talking about online, you purchase online and you deliver physically, and then somebody comes with what? Home delivery. Do you understand? Just goes to where you are and bring it, home delivery service. Now, when we evolve to personalized banking, for instance, now the customer does not have to come to the bank. We take the bank to the customer. You see, that's what service disruption. Then you have profitability. You simply come up with a new process with a lower cost. And then when you are having, when competition cost is higher and your own operational cost is lower, there is a big margin for you, right? And then you can compete favorably. Then another thing is the returns on the disruption. Now, there are disruptions that are disastrous. Like sometimes it's just like job kiting. You move from one company to another thinking that you're going to do better, or knowing to you that you are on a Titanic rather, right? You will confidently live where you are, but you jump on a ship that is not going to arrive at where you intend that it was going to arrive. Then lastly is the elasticity of your value. You look at elasticity of value is one way in which disruptions also happens, right? Elasticity of value simply means how long will the quality last, right? So somebody will just increase how long the product will last, and then it will sweep you out of the market. Now there's this rubber in the local market. Normally you have plastic. Then they came out with this black thick rubber. Now when the person that has that rubber is advertising the rubber, he'll be smashing that black rubber on the ground. And you'll be seeing it that, how can somebody be hitting this thing on the ground like this and it's not broken? Unlike the one you used to buy before, that before it gets to the ground, it's already cracking. And when it lands on the ground, everything it's holding gives way. So you find out that these are disruptive 5 levels of disruptions that can happen. But what do they mean for you? Right? How do you manage that? How you manage that is to simply find out what was it that you omitted. Sometimes customer service can be the omission that will give way and take you off the market. Sometimes your productivity, your error rates could be what is going to, if you have a high number of defects, if I buy a crate of egg from you and 6 of them had cracks that I could not use, I may not patronize. If it happens regularly, then I will stop patronizing you, right? I'll check somebody else who might even have not eggs not as big as yours, but they are always intact, no defect, 0 defect. Can you see that now? Then you have profitability. The fact that, okay, if I buy from you, right, because there is a high demand for your product, I have high turnover. So I sell off on time, make my margin, resell. Before the person that is going to sell the other product finish selling, I've sold twice as much. So what happens? I'll make more money, right? And I have turnover, right? More, better than that. And then the cost of operation would be lower, right? It might be higher in some instances, depending on how you manage it. Yeah. So what's the returns on disruption? Now, did the change actually bring a shift for you? Sometimes people change and go into oblivion. Some people change and escalate, right? So what is it for you? These are the things you should check, and then you know exactly how you have been able to effectively manage your disruptions.